Tonight,
we can't back down now.
Reaction and commitment. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says it's ready to bargain after an overwhelming rejection of the government's contract proposal. Also, as we head into the weekend, a solar storm will bring Aurora fans a great chance to sky gaze. Plus, Lucy the lemur becomes a new mom just in time for Mother's Day.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, May 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Teachers and the government may be heading back to the bargaining table after Saskatchewan teachers firmly rejected the province's final offer with an overwhelming no vote. Kendall Latimer has more.
Teachers remain united in their ongoing push for change. Of the 92% of teachers who voted this week on the contract offer, 90% said no.
This vote is a clear demonstration of the high level of engagement of teachers throughout this entire process, and also shows the resolve that they have to fight for their students and for public education.
The labor dispute has been ongoing for months. As negotiations broke down, teachers' job action escalated, and then the government's final offer was rejected.
The result is disappointing because, again, government feels like this was a fair deal and a good agreement for teachers.
The offer included an 8% salary increase over 3 years. Teachers say that won't make wages competitive enough, but it also wasn't just about the money for them. The education minister says the government is also putting up more money for the system.
Government has made some significant investments in K-12 education in the last budget, a 9% increase in school operating funding, the largest increase we've seen in provincial history, quite frankly. We've seen the multi-year funding agreement with this 27 school divisions.
But teachers say the system has been underfunded for years. And when you factor in inflation, a little more money now doesn't address widespread issues.
We can't back down now. If we can't see improvements to education in a time where our province is relatively prosperous in the economy, when are we going to see improvements to public education? We are in a crisis.
And the biggest sticking point of all, class size and complexity. Teachers say that must be addressed in the contract. They say there aren't enough resources and too many students in classrooms.
Our needs and our messages have not changed from the beginning of this process. We need to see classroom complexity addressed in a meaningful way that ensures that experiences in the classroom are going to improve.
The official opposition says the government needs to listen.
We have students in cramped classrooms, students without the supports that they need, students who are sharing desks and textbooks. This is what teachers are fighting for. The investment in kids, the investment in education is one of the best investments that we can make as a province into the future.
The education minister wouldn't say whether the teachers' vote has prompted the government to change its approach to bargaining. The STF says job action is on hold for now, so long as the government returns to the table with a new mandate. Kendall Latimer, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And while the STF says it has no immediate plans to take further job action, questions remain about whether graduation ceremonies could be impacted. The education minister said today that 24 of 27 school divisions already have plans in place to make sure that grad ceremonies continue no matter what happens. The STF has also announced that teachers will vote next week on giving the STF executive a mandate to implement sanctions beyond the current school year. One political science professor says the only thing that might force the government to budge is the fall election.
This is going to drag on for a while, largely because both sides feel, I think, that they've got good reason to be where they are in the negotiations, kind of making the demands that they are, and those demands are difficult to reconcile. My instinct as an observer of this is that the government of Saskatchewan's in a position where it's very difficult to them to speak to those demands around classroom complexity, and around class sizes, because addressing those demands requires a fair amount of government spending. And the government is facing demands not just to spend in education, but in healthcare, certainly post-secondary. It's a range of different sectors that are putting demands on government finances right now. Voters, kind of the kind of state of the research on political behavior suggests that voters have short memories. So, if you have an issue like this a year away from an election, it might not be so much of an issue. But now we're getting into the area where this will have an issue, this will have an impact on the election, where voters are going to remember this going into the election. And while I don't know that it's enough to cost the Sask party government, it could cost them support and it could cost them seats, particularly in more suburban areas of Regina and Saskatoon. And so I would say that's starting to put pressure on the government to try to come to a resolution on this issue.
Saskatchewan's Ministry of Health has issued a drug alert because there's an elevated risk of overdose or death from drugs in the Prince Albert and Wahpeton Dakota Nation. The alert comes as Parkland ambulance staff have attended to 8 suspected overdoses in a 24-hour period in those areas. Naloxone was administered in 6 of the 8 reported overdoses. There's no description of what drug it was or sold as, but in one case, carfentanil is a suspected substance and may have been taken by IV injection. The alert is to be in place until May 17th, 1 week from today. And a reminder of the Good Samaritan Act in Canada that protects people in an overdose situation from charges. If someone is in medical distress, call 911. The province is expanding an initiative that helps people with complex needs access more supports. 10 social service employees are being added to the Income Assistance Mobile Outreach Service Initiative. Those employees are placed in 26 community-based organizations across the province. They then help direct people to get more support. The Ministry of Social Services says the goal is to fill gaps where people are getting lost. Queen City Wellness Pharmacy is one of the organizations in the partnership.
It has been so effective. We have slower days and we have really busy days. We've got days where they're back to back with a lineup of people out here, and then we've got days like today where it's like beautiful out and not as many people around. But those little questions, and even the little questions we've been able to just go right with people and say, wondering if they've got the ability to get a nutritional supplement, and they'd have to look it up and send in the applications, or we can send in the applications for them. So it's been so helpful.
The Ministry of Social Services says it's spending almost $700,000 to expand this service. The Hudson Bay Department Store in Cornwall Centre has announced it will close in Regina in 2025. Regina Mayor Sandra Masters said earlier this week that the Downtown Regina Improvement District is looking for ways to fill the space. And the Regina Public Library has come up because Cornwall Centre has the space and the parking.
The library did issue an expression of interest to determine whether there was any market interest in a joint venture, in potentially backfilling vacant space for the library, or to build on site or off site or lease somewhere new for the library.
Master said the next step would be a request for proposal if it was a suitable place, but friends of the RPL would rather the city focus on fixing the issues at the current building instead of looking to rebuild or move.
Friends of the library would prefer that they keep the current location and rehabilitate it, bring things up to standard. If they want more space, add on to the top or add on to the west side of the property. In terms of what a library needs, location is very important, and the structure of the building is very important because library books are heavy.
At this point, a decision hasn't been made on if the central branch will relocate or renovate its current location, but discussions on whether or not the current building is structurally maintainable have come up in the past. Both of Canada's major railways could soon be affected by a strike. And a strike or lockout could have major impacts on supply chains here in Saskatchewan. Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City workers voted in favor of a strike mandate last week. That mandate affects more than 9,000 workers. Working conditions, specifically rest periods, are a concern of the rail workers. A professor in the Department of Agriculture and Resource Economics at the University of Saskatchewan says he doesn't think a disruption would be long-lasting.
I don't think the railways could reroute enough of their traffic through their U.S. Affiliates to make up for the fact they've lost all this traffic in Canada. So I really believe that still they're in a situation where they can't afford, the last strike lasted 2.5 days. They really can't afford to have a strike lasting more than a couple of days, and I don't think it will. And again, it's all posturing.
Nolan says the rail companies are profitable and will not want to see those profits affected by a prolonged strike. Workers can strike as soon as May 22nd. Canada's economy added 90,000 jobs in April, the biggest gain in 15 months. At the same time, the unemployment rate remained unchanged at 6.1%. Stats Canada data shows last month's gains were spread across the service sector. More than half were part-time jobs. Wage growth slipped, and the stubbornly flat unemployment affected all major demographic groups. It comes amid speculation of a potential Bank of Canada interest rate cut in June. The federal government is ordering public service workers back into the office for at least 3 days a week. The unions, which represent more than 250,000 federal workers, are fighting back. They say the decree violates a commitment made by Ottawa. Kate McKenna has the details.
The head of one of Canada's largest public sector unions coming out with fighting words.
The Liberal government's move to force federal workers back into ill-equipped and poorly maintained offices 3 days a week is purely political and puts the services Canadians depend on at risk.
The Public Service Alliance of Canada has filed complaints. Other unions are planning to file more over the government's move to force public servants back to the office 3 days a week, starting on September 9th. Unions say they were blindsided.
Last year, during one of the largest strikes in Canadian history, we fought and won a commitment from this government that would protect public service workers from arbitrary government-wide decisions on telework just like this one.
But the Treasury Board says hybrid work isn't a bargaining chip and wasn't part of signed agreements.
The most important thing is to continue to deliver services for Canadians and to protect taxpayer dollars, and at the same time to recognize that we do have the best public service in the world.
On the streets, opinion is split.
It's hard to say. I don't think that people are any less productive working from home. I don't really think our tax dollars should be paying for office space that's unnecessary.
People have to remember that you used to work full time, right? 5 days a week, or some people 7. So I think a compromise for 3 days shouldn't be a big issue depending on what you need to do.
I do think it's important to have time in the office. There's a lot to be said for the interaction with people.
But the unions say they're not backing down, promising a summer of discontent unless the government relents. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
A special couple days for the Prairie Peacemakers Quilters Guild in Regina. They're holding their biennial show today and tomorrow at the Caledonian Curling Club. More than 250 quilts and quilted items made by men and women of all ages will be presented. Some of the things on display include purses, bags, and quilted running shoes. There are also several vendors, many of which have traveled from other provinces and cities to be part of the show. Maybe something to check out with your mom ahead of Mother's Day on Sunday. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Powerful solar storms are expected to hit the Earth's atmosphere and create northern lights starting tonight. Of course, that's one of the benign effects of the solar storm. Regina astronomer Samantha Becotte explains.
We are going to get great auroras on the prairies tonight. Auroras happen when there's an eruption or a storm on the sun and a bunch of extra charged particles come toward the Earth and they interact with Earth's magnetic field and upper atmosphere and create amazing colors. To see these, you'll want to get away from light pollution. So get out of the city, get to a place where there's no light pollution to the north of you, and this is going to be really amazing.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Well, a live look of downtown Regina, where it is currently 22 degrees. A beautiful Friday to be outside. Riley Lachuk has a look at your forecast.
Well, Sam, we certainly are looking forward to a pretty nice show over the next couple of nights, really province-wide and across Western Canada, looking at some pretty good conditions for viewing that aurora. So on the KP scale 1 to 9, this sort of signifies the intensity of the aurora. We're looking at an 8 for tonight, 5 for tomorrow night. So 2 pretty good nights. Here in Saskatchewan, we're looking at the best viewing time between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So you have to stay up a little bit late. But I think it'll be worth it, especially if you can get out of the city or out of your community into a more rural area where it is a lot darker. So that's that. Another banner day today weather-wise. Temperatures, look at some of these highs. 27 in North Battleford this afternoon, 25 through the western part of the province. Regina getting to 22, still above seasonal for this time of the year. So certainly, we're treated to some very nice sunshine and some very good temperatures today, and that's kind of what we have in store for the weekend as well. Looking at satellite radar, very sunny conditions across the south and central parts of the province. This low-pressure system here is skirting across the territorial boundary, bringing some showers to far northern parts of the province, and we see that pushing out as we get through into the early morning on Saturday. So by the time we hit 10 o'clock, just a few scattered clouds, but otherwise we're looking at mainly sunny conditions as we head through the day on Saturday, really province-wide, with the exception of the far north. Could get some wet snow either first thing in the morning into the overnight hours into Sunday, or some rain depending on the temperatures. Sunday, we see another low-pressure system developing in Alberta. Chance of showers really along that southwestern corner of Saskatchewan. Otherwise, another what I like to call banner spring day with a mainly sunny sky, a few clouds as we head through Sunday into Monday. The winds will be a bit on the gusty side tomorrow. So looking at our winds as we start the day on Saturday, we do start to see things picking up in the northwest, with those gusts moving toward the southeastern corner of the province. So you can see some of these blues here indicating gusts in that 60, 70 kilometer an hour range, and even through the south by the time we get into the afternoon tomorrow, looking at winds 30 gusting to 50 kilometers an hour. So 26 tomorrow in Regina, northwest winds gust to 50 with some sunshine through the weekend as well. Temperatures back toward more seasonal, which is 18 degrees at this time of the year. Next chance of showers in Regina comes Tuesday, 17 degrees, and we're wrapping up the rest of next week in the 17 to 20 range. And in Saskatoon, looking at northwest winds to 50 tomorrow, 23 degrees with a chance of some showers as we get through Sunday, Monday. Risk we could see maybe a scattered thunderstorm through into the day on Monday, especially into the later afternoon. Otherwise, we're looking at temperatures 19 and 20 degrees, mainly sunny skies as well as we wrap up next week.
A South Korean company is a Guinness World Record holder when it comes to light shows using drones. They fly drones to form massive aerial shapes of pretty much anything. If creating butterflies in the night sky is not impressive enough, how about a giant drone made out of hundreds of little drones? Earlier this month, the company broke the previous world record by using nearly 5,300 drones at a single event. We'll be back after the break. Oh, this is a big day for Canadian sports fans. Toronto can get ready for a new pro sports team. CBC News has learned an expansion franchise will be granted by the Women's National Basketball Association. Adil Musa reports.
Women's professional basketball is coming to Toronto, and fans couldn't be happier.
I think women are amazing, and I'm so excited to go watch my first WNBA game.
I think for girls, having those role models out there is going to be a big positive for girls sports across the country.
Women can do anything that men can do, so bring it on! Yeah, for the women! Yes, I like it.
CBC News has learned Toronto billionaire Larry Tannenbaum was granted the expansion franchise with the Women's National Basketball Association. Tannenbaum is a minority owner and chairman of Maple Leafs Sports and Entertainment, which owns teams like the Maple Leafs and the Raptors.
The little girl in me is just like bubbling with joy.
Nakisa Kumal Singh founded the basketball league Hoop Queens to give female players the opportunity to play and compete in the sport. She says having a professional women's basketball team in Canada is a game changer.
Canada deserves a WNBA team because we have proven and shown time after time that there's a market here, one. Two, that there's talent.
Timeout on the floor.
Talent like Bridget Carlton, who played to a sold-out crowd during the league's preseason game in 2023 in Toronto's Scotiabank Arena.
I think we've seen the demand has always been there. Anytime a women's game of any type has been on broadcast television, we have records. We see with the PWHL is selling out everywhere it goes. People want to be there.
The WNBA did not confirm the Toronto move, but in a statement to CBC, it says any new team requires a vote of the WNBA and NBA Board of Governors. The official announcement by the league is set for later this month, and Toronto's new team is expected to begin playing in 2026. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, here's a look at your provincial forecast now for your Saturday, and we're looking at another warm and sunny day across the province. Not as warm as today in some places, but certainly we're looking at some pretty nice conditions. So mainly sunny skies really throughout the bulk of the province tomorrow. 26 in Regina, 26 in Estevan and Moosomin, and high teens to the north, where we could see a few showers skirting through even as far south as Collins Bay tomorrow. For Regina, we're looking at a start tomorrow at about 13 degrees. We'll start to see a little bit of mix of sun and clouds, but we're looking at a pretty nice day tomorrow by 4 o'clock, up to 24 degrees with those breezy northwest winds. 14 in Saskatoon first thing in the morning, a mainly sunny sky, and we're looking at 22 through the afternoon, partly cloudy skies. And Sam, I think that's a good patio day, so save me a seat.
Absolutely. Thanks, Riley. And before we leave you this week, the Saskatoon Forestry Farm, Park and Zoo animal family grew by 1 this week. The ringtailed lemurs, Ringo and Lucy, had a baby on Monday morning. Now, we can't tell you if it's a boy or a girl because mom and baby are bonding. Infant ringtailed lemurs cling to their mother's belly for the first few weeks before moving to ride jockey style on mom's back. This is a big deal because these animals native to southwestern Madagascar are classified as endangered.
We were definitely working towards breeding. We actually had the breeding down, and we actually thought we had missed. We had calculated it out, and we thought we actually had missed it. Oh, she had been gaining some weight, and we'd been monitoring her, but we weren't sure exactly what was going on. And then on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, 10:30, I got the call. So we were really excited.
Mom will introduce solid food after about 2 weeks with full weaning by 6 months of age. Lucy will keep a close eye on baby as it starts exploring their habitat in about a month. This weekend is Lucy's first Mother's Day. This is the first baby born to her and Ringo after arriving at the zoo last year. And if you want to check out the little family, you can find them in the small mammal house at the zoo, which is open this weekend from 9 to 5. And a happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. That is it for us this week. For News Anytime, you can always head to our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely weekend.